So who are the Automotive Group? For some time now, since I joined in April of 2013, you could really describe the businesses as completely respected within the industry, and in many cases, if they're not the leader, they are the number 2 business within the market segment they operate, or where they are in a particular niche area, then they lead the market that they're in. Trading now out of 120 locations and employing over 800 people, this is a very sizable organisation when compared to the organisation of April 2013. We focus on 3 specific segments: mechanical, electrical, which Alan has already alluded to, and tyre and wheel. And the team, to be quite frank, is just a pleasure to be a leader of. They possess immense knowledge, and with that knowledge, the highest levels of enthusiasm and commitment for the industry that they work in. They are the team responsible for powering life's journeys. In terms of our recent growth profile, and it's probably worth noting here that the group as we see it today, the Automotive Group, probably started its life in April 2013, as already mentioned. It's worth noting that the growth since that period ended June 30, 2013. The growth has been way more accelerated compared to the years that preceded it. In fact, if you step back the 6 years prior to 2013, the growth within automotive was marginal at the top line and flat in terms of profitability. So the last 3 years have seen a very good story as far as growth is concerned. As far as the 2016 year in review, Alan's already mentioned that there was very positive sales growth, some of that coming from the successful acquisitions that we had made. I suppose the story from a business-by-business perspective is both BNT and TRS performed exceptionally well. TRS pleasingly so in a very challenging market. We did make a significant material investment to start in truck and trailer parts, and I think really important to note that we accelerated the branch network growth within Australia, and obviously that represents significant investment of funds. We, by the same token, did enjoy really good growth, especially at the top line in Australia, and you will note that we acquired Premier Auto Trade in the May of 2016 this year, and that has been an exceptionally good acquisition for us thus far. There were some margin pressures and there was some negative impact from FX, but in terms of profitability, I think that were the key impacts in the last financial year. In terms of where we operate, there are a number of factors which make this a very attractive group of companies. The Automotive Group exists in an environment where not only are we seeing population growth within Australia and New Zealand, we also see that that is driving vehicle number growth. Vehicle age is stable to increasing. All of that is very, very good news for an aftermarket automotive group of businesses. There has been, and I suppose that gets really represented by the recent activity from Bapcor, there has been a trend of consolidation and aggregation, which has probably now been on the go for about a decade and doesn't show any sign of slowing up. We have, by a very different strategy to other players in the market, seen that working with our suppliers on a strategic level is absolutely critical to the growth story that we see lying ahead of the Automotive Group. And if we look at just plain old simple macro indicators such as oil price and the truckometer, the amount of kilometres that vehicles are travelling, as well as I've said earlier, the number of vehicles on the road, all of this points to a very favourable outcome for the businesses that we currently have under the Hellaby ownership. There are, though, various technology and other industry disruptors that we would be definitely need to be focused on and aware of. These buttons ain't too good. In terms of global legislative changes, most people will have noted that the amount of emissions that legally a manufacturer is allowed to have coming out of new vehicles is decreasing year upon year upon year. And in order to achieve those changes, all of the manufacturers will need to put in place strategies to meet the legal requirements or face very significant fines if they're in breach of those requirements. The number of vehicle types and the number of fuel types, and indeed the electrical or electronic content of a vehicle will increase over time. All of that complexity plays into an industry such as our aftermarket businesses. It is not a negative to see new fuel types, new vehicle types enter into the market space. And additionally, when you, if you like, build upon the electronic story, all of the GPS and telematic technologies that will allow vehicles, driverless vehicles and fleet vehicles, they may well be technologies that we sometimes find hard to comprehend, and whether or not they will eventually hit our society and our streets. All of that is coming, but all of that in its way is positive for our businesses into the future. There are massive battery advancements in and out of vehicles. The amount of money being invested globally into battery technology, especially lithium technology, is huge. There are parts that are now being produced by 3D printers, and the ever-expanding influence of the internet and other social media must not be discounted in its importance to our industry going forward. But all of that is opportunity. None of the technologies I mention, none of the disruptors I mention are negatives as far as the automotive group are concerned. In fact, they present significant opportunity going forward. The innovative aftermarket has, in general, 6 to 8 years in order to respond to new vehicles coming off of the production line today. We have an eye to the future, and we are able to make changes within our industry in good time because we have that, if you like, signalled to us by the manufacturers and the new vehicles coming off the line. We need to have and will be smarter in terms of our strategy, in terms of being more effective going forward. I think one of the most significant changes, if you like, as a result of the change in strategic direction is that we are now positioned in terms of extracting synergies and efficiencies from our businesses way more than we perhaps had been in the historic strategy that Hellaby's had followed. And we will focus on improving the customer fulfillment and satisfaction, a journey that we started a little over 3 years ago when I was appointed. We have some exceptionally good businesses. We are in a market which is well over $3 billion. And if you look at the share that the Hellaby Automotive Group has of that, there is a lot of room for our expansion and our ability to take on board more share into the future. How will we do that? There's enormous opportunity from a acquisition perspective and a number of targets that we are looking at, all of which are highly complementary to our current businesses, scalable and offering even further synergy benefits than those being extracted today. Because we're in an enormous market, Australasia, there are still significant abilities for us to improve our organic performance. And as I mentioned earlier, the technology change in and around electrical and electronic provides us with a rich vein of opportunity going forward. Our priorities in this current year are seeking to really make some progress in how we derive benefits from our scale and how we derive significant economic benefits from the degrees at which our companies work together and work collaboratively in developing solutions and developing performance improvement initiatives. We will need to look at our IT roadmap moving forward, and certainly it is, if you like, an end in mind objective for us, being able to offer any customer in either country the single product catalogue and the ability to transact once across multiple companies, whereas today, because we aren't in that situation, they are essentially transacting with the individual companies for the individual product needs that we have. Increase the growth momentum in the Australian electrical business side, and certainly ensure that we ensure market penetration into those areas that we clearly have great potential still existing. This business has always been about, or within automotive in any case, being a successful business that is achieving the greatest levels of customer fulfillment has always been about the right people, the right part in the right place at the right time. It really is actually a very simple business model, but not everyone seems to be able to get the particular mix correct. We have got businesses within the Automotive Group today that are doing a superb job of getting that right, and that's why they continue to grow, and that's why they continue to be successful. That is our sweet spot, and it is something that all of the targets that we have in mind will do in terms of benefiting that objective going forward. So our vision is powering life's journeys. We are extremely excited about the future. We believe that as shareholders, you should be equally excited about that future. We have the ability, having grown significantly in the last 3 years, we have the ability to at least match the same pace of growth in the years to come. Certainly, I think perhaps the $1 billion is, in total group terms, a slight conservative view. I think that we have definitely got the team that's energised and enthusiastic about doing it, and we look forward to fulfilling that story in the years to come. Thanks very much.